Hello again, everybody. It's Ron over Becoming Enlightened Together, and I've got another rune reading, and this one is for Tuesday, the 13th of January, 2026. Not that time is, of concern, because it's always, fluid in terms of divination. So this could be for wherever you see it. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, 20 years down the road. Whenever you see it, that's when it's relevant. Okay? So, with that being said, I've already posted the weekly reading, and I posted a tarot reading also, and this one seems to be reminiscent also of that tarot reading in particular, which are generally more specific. They pinpoint, and there's more information typically that can be derived in terms of the analytical side of divination. When it comes to the feeling and everything else, again, it's very, very reminiscent of the tarot reading I just did about a emperor who's really going through it. He's torn, if you will, between his thoughts, his feelings, the situations that he's going through and everything else. An emperor is basically somebody who is a CEO, a father figure, somebody who's an authority figure, something of that nature. Somebody who embodies all four kings in the tarot deck and all their, traits, attributes, characteristics, and so on. They have risen up, basically through a lot of inner work and so on to master those particular attributes. Okay? That doesn't mean that those who have gain that level of spiritual maturity don't have their rough patches. Okay, we all have those peaks and valleys in our life, and it never really stops. We're always learning. So, and no better teacher than a little bit of discomfort, pain, things that propel us, move us forward, and stuff like that, get us out of our comfort zones. And that's kind of what we're seeing with this reading. Now, the overall weekly energy is Nalthis. Now, Nalthis in the reverse actually means somebody's going in the wrong direction or has been going in the wrong direction. Somebody who's very possessive, somebody with basically either within or they themselves have some type of an appropriate constraint of freedom. And either they're keeping somebody else, in some type of either mental or physical slavery, or they themselves feel that they are. Okay? So somebody who is basically going through distress, toil, drudgery, their needs and necessities not being met, they're feeling or they're in a state of deprivation, hunger, poverty, emotional turmoil, and emotional hunger as well. So it's pretty serious what it sounds like. I mean, we're talking about somebody that may really be going through it, from an emotional standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, a psychological standpoint. Okay. Now the past energy, and that was what we pulled on Sunday for today, Tuesday, is Iwas. And Iwas, fortunately, is a very powerful rune, and it's in the upright in this case. This one talks about both death and rebirth. And remember, now death is not always a physical death, although it could mean that. Typically, that's what it will mean if it was in reversed. Okay, but in the upright, it can mean the death of a cycle. And again, we've been talking about cycles and how the one that we've been going through, this very, very lengthy one that we're just coming out of. Some of us are still in it, but we're coming out of or getting close to that finish line. Has been a very, very long, we're talking 10 to 15 year cycle, so depending on who it is we're talking to. So there's first the death, and then there's the rebirth. As above, so below. That's what we see in both the occultic world, and we also see that echoed in many religious dogmas. Okay. Now we also talk about success, strength, freedom. We talk about protection, the need to protect others. We talk about the driving force to acquire what your will wants. It talks about motivation, a sense of purpose. It talks about somebody has their sights set on a specific target that's achievable and decides upon it. okay, and also somebody that can be relied upon. And that's good. Hopefully the people that we're talking about, especially if you're embodying, the energy as we just saw of the emperor, that's somebody that is trustworthy. Now, our present energy, on the other hand, is Gibo. And Gibo is ordinarily a very positive rune too. Well, when it's in the upright, it is. It's like X marks the spot on a treasure map. And that's something we're all seeking, right? Whether it's physical treasure, or it could be spiritual, or even wisdom. I mean, because Solomon asked for wisdom, he was greatly blessed, by God. God thought that was, a very well, it was a good thing to ask for. I'll just leave it at that. All of his motives, of course, he's God. I can't, speak for God, but point is that because he asked for wisdom versus treasures and women and this, that, and the other thing, which, by the way, he ended up getting all those things in a grandiose manner. Wisdom is vitally important. It's the thing that I seek each and every day. But in this particular case, since it's in the reverse, it talks about problems, the roots of an emotional issue of some type, something that perhaps has not yet been fully addressed or healed. That's what we're talking about. So also it talks about greediness, loneliness, dependency, over-sacrificing perhaps, obligations, toil, again, privation, and even bribery. Somebody uses money or perhaps other means of getting things that they want instead of working for that. That doesn't sound at all like a emperor's, status quo, if you will, type of, it wouldn't be the traits, characteristics, or attributes that are associated with an emperor. So it's a little bit difficult. These may be things that are going on in their mind, or they may be really indeed materialistic types of aspects that we're looking at here. Hopefully they're things that are going on in their mind and they're battling, because this shows me, just like the tarot reading, there's a sense of confusion, of mental, pugilism going on. They're battling it out inside. So now, as far as our obstacles are concerned, we have Canes. Well, I'll just show you my hand. This is Canes. Okay, it looks like an arrow, sort of. It talks about creativity. It talks about the torch, the light that goes off, the light bulb that we see symbolically in cartoons and things like that represent something has dawned on them, or a great idea has just occurred, a revelation has been given or granted. That's what it is, like the light or the fire that also is used in creation of something. So creativity is part of this as well. It talks about the power to create through one's own will. Talks about new strength, rapport, lust, passion, sexual love. All those types of things are reminiscent of Canes. Now, why would that be an obstacle? Because sometimes our passions can get in the way of our better intuitive knowing of something that we should be pursuing or doing, or something of that nature. And it's not wrong to want those things or to even partake in those things. But when it becomes, constantly, something on your mind or in your heart, then it becomes difficult to do the things which truly are important, in our world. Not to say that those aren't important. I'm just saying that, we can't just dwell on those things which feel good or make us feel good. Get that quick dopamine fix, if you will. There's nothing wrong with anything in balance. So I want to make sure that I clear that. Because some people think it's very prudish to say that it's wrong to abstain, or it's wrong not to abstain. I mean, everybody has their own perspective on this. Some people believe that harnessing their sexual energy, and I'm a proponent of that, I believe that there's truth to that too, is amplifying your creative endeavors and maybe even your manifesting abilities. Sexual energy is extremely powerful. It's the most powerful, if you will, magical energy that there is. And most people use it in that context from, let's just say, a Crowleyan perspective, which is very low vibrational, and if it manifests anything, it's only on the lower planes. If they try to use it against somebody of a higher resonating energy, then it's going to end up backfiring on them tremendously, and they're going to end up paying the price at a much faster rate. So they need to know that as well, because I've had people actually use that against me, so I know it to be a truth. Okay? Now, it's because I've studied both sides. And I had most of the books that I could get my hands on from both sides. I own most of the Masonic literature, Rosicrucianism. I own a lot of books, of course, by Anton LaVey. He wrote more than just the Satanic Bible. He wrote at least 2 other books I'm familiar with. Those of Aleister Crowley and many, many others. So I've looked at both the spiritual, all the world's religions, major religions anyways, and some of the indigenous belief systems as well I'm less familiar with, but I have some understanding of. And of course the occultic and esoteric sides, Hermeticism and all that kind of stuff. When you put it together and you're honest with yourself, you see universal laws that emerge that science much later on actually comes to terms with and calls it something they've discovered. Something that was written about, talked about thousands of years previous to that, but they'll never admit it because they're just the ego, arrogance, things of that nature. Anyway, I digress. It's part of being a teacher. I just want to hit every little segment along the way as well. So, Cain-as is a very, very powerful energy, and it can be an obstacle simply because we dwell on things that will make us forget other things that we need to really take time out to reflect upon, to really resonate with for some time, and then hopefully come to some type of conclusion or find our answers and solutions to those issues instead of pretending as though they don't exist. So that's why Cain-as could be an obstacle in the Emperor's life right now. Too much into the feel good and not enough into the really going within and doing that hard inner work. Okay. Now the help and advice is Othala. Now Othala is the depending on who you read, it's either the 23rd or 24th letter in their alphabet. So it's either the second to the last or the last. And Othala is the letter O in their alphabet, but this one is turned again in the reverse. Now, it typically talks about things such as ancestry and things of that nature, but when it's in the reverse, it talks about recklessness and frustration, perhaps even legal problems. It talks about hassles, lack of order, totalitarianism, again, back to that, unhealthy need to restrain either your freedom, yours is being restrained, or that of another person that you wish to control. It didn't show me that the Emperor was in reverse, but that would be an Emperor in reverse type of energy. So, but Othala, again, talks about slavery, poverty, talks about prejudice, racism, if you will, homelessness, talks about bad karma, clannishness, again, within the racial prejudice type of a thing. It talks about something that binds a person, something that a person is bound to, either way, whether it's a group, an organization, a thought process, whatever it is. So again, to the Emperor out there who may watch this, and I presume they will be, because I wouldn't be giving this energy if it wasn't for somebody to absorb and reflect upon. And hopefully you will. Now in the future energy with Haglas. Haglas is the letter H in their alphabet, and it looks something like an H, of course. It is in the second group, family, or Ayat. It talks about hail. Hail in reference to, how a hailstorm can destroy an entire crop or just a small segment of a crop in a single, few minutes or whatever. It comes out of the blue. It just, that ice can wreak havoc. So it talks about limits and upheavals, things that happen unexpectedly, delays, shadows, wrath of nature, destructive and uncontrolled forces of either weather or of an unconscious, which I believe they're referring to in this case, state. Somebody who's going back and forth in their head about, what to do. Pain or pleasure? Do I deal with the pain because it's something that I need to really look at, heal, and move past? Or do I go right to the pleasure, which is my way of avoiding it and give me that quick dopamine fix, that back and forth ping pong effect in your head? That's what we're seeing with this for the future. But it also does talk about, at the end, controlled crisis, which does lead to the completion of a task, thought, idea, or situation. It talks about potential inner harmony. So if you decide to go with the looking at and the healing of the issue versus the dopamine fix, there is what they're saying here, not only potential, but very likely, let's just say success, harmony, all the things that will give you a milder dopamine fix, but it'll be for your best overall general health, psychologically, physically, spiritually. Okay, so that's what I have for the collective for today. So for all my emperors out there who are battling with something and you're trying to determine what to do, or whether to do the hard work or not, or just to succumb and give in to the temptations of life instead, remember, even if you fail once, you still have an opportunity, presumably, to make the right decision the second time. So don't beat yourself up. Love yourself. Realize we're all human and we're all going through this, this school of life, so to speak. So, and as I always do, I invite you, if you need somebody to talk to or even just to listen to you, then just let me know. I've got a good ear, and a pretty good heart. Even though it's been tarnished by a lot of people who've abused it, I'll tell you what, I'm here for the people that need it. Okay. So, with that being said, stay victorious, and in the very distant future, I will see you all as we battle in that final epic saga known as Ragnarok in Valhalla.